Mind Your Business is brought to you by Today's Business, making business social. How do you lead a sales team? How do you lead a company with over 1,200 people? Well, we're going to have somebody with over 40 years experience in the financial services industry who's the president and CEO share that with us in a moment. Don't go away. Hi, I'm Barry Farber, and this is Mind Your Business. We're going to look at leadership today. We're going to hear from somebody who's the president and CEO of an organization with over 1,200 people that he manages and over 40 years of success in the financial services industry. But before we get to that, I want to share some ideas on working in the trenches and building credibility with your team and how you earn that. Years ago, I had been sent out, over 25 years ago, I was in sales, and I always am in sales, but I was sent out in the field to go and make calls with a district manager, said, come on, he'll ride with me for the day, and had appointments in the afternoon, but the morning was open for cold calling. So we pulled up to a building, Office Park, and he says, go ahead. I said, aren't you coming? And he goes, no. He goes, I'm going to read the paper. I'll go on the calls this afternoon with you. All right, let me tell you, I went out and did my calls, came back. Do you think I listened to anything he said that afternoon? Any feedback on how my sales call, how I should make it, what I should do in my presentations? I didn't listen to a word. I couldn't even hear the guy because his actions spoke louder than words. He wouldn't go out in the field and walk with me on cold calls. Are you kidding me? So that stuck in my mind for years, and I've been selling everything every day, and I believe that if you can't do what you're telling other people to do, get out of the business. You know, I mean, it's one thing to do training and tell people how to gain access to new business, but if you can't go out and make calls with them, that's what I do every single time when I'm going out with a company. If I do training with them, I'll ask to go out with some of their reps, make calls. Which companies do you want to go into? Pick them. Pick any one, $50 million company, $10 million company, I don't care. We'll sit down, we'll pull up to the place, we'll do research on the phone of who that company is, who the CEO is, articles they've been in, watch them on YouTube. You can do so much research prior to going in that you have knowledge that gives you confidence. But the most important thing is that sales rep sees you doing what you're going to tell them to do. So you do it. 8 out of 10 times we reach the CEO or the decision maker. The sales rep then makes a call. I can give feedback. He watches. He watches me, and then I watch him. Remember, I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. I do, I understand. But more importantly, there's credibility built. And that's what we want to get into this show. How do you build a loyal team of followers, of people who want to follow a leader because they believe in them, their values are strong, and they deliver on their promises? That's what we're going to look in today on Mind Your Business. We'll be right back.
Won my share. Lost some too. You can't sit still. You have to be continually evolving. You have to be continually changing.
It is my pleasure to welcome the Man's CFO magazine called Invincible Irv. Please help me in welcoming Irv Rothman.
We're living in very turbulent times. I've spent the last 40 years, pretty much my entire career in the financial services business. We've led or helped create 3 global financial services companies. My perspective is that if you're going to win in this marketplace, you need to be nimble, you need to be quick, you need to be flexible, and you need to play guts ball. Guts ball, in my opinion, has been one of the keys to the success that I've enjoyed over the last 40 years. Those companies, the companies that don't change and react to the rapidly evolving conditions in the world, are going to become dinosaurs. What are the most important things when we think about out-executing the other guy? I think the first thing, very importantly, is to deliver on your commitments. But you can never compromise your principles. So you've got to establish a set of clear principles and rationales that everybody can understand, everybody can buy into, and then you've got to work really, really hard to gain everybody's trust.
Maybe you can make retirement happen.
After all,
Oh, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
Love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those.
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like, aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. Irv Rothman is the president and CEO of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Financial Services. He's responsible for the worldwide delivery of solutions that enable business transformation. His company is headquartered in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, with regional locations in Dublin, Ireland, and Singapore, with over 1,200 employees worldwide, and does business in more than 50 countries. He's the author of Out Executing the Competition, published by John Wiley & Sons. Great to have you on the show.
Glad to be here, Barry.
Good to see
Thank you.
You know, it's always a pleasure. I've had you on the radio, now television, and let's get right down to business.
Okay.
Tell me something that you do when you have people that are saying, you know, this person doesn't do something on the team. I'm doing all the work, they don't do it, you know, and let's talk about teamwork first.
Right. Well, in our culture, we believe in organizing people in teams. So in our organization, the word team is not a buzz phrase. People actually operationalize the concept. Mm-hmm. And in our organization, those teams manage themselves. Now, we give them their targets. We give them their financial targets and sometimes qualitative targets as well. But then it's up to the team to decide how to allocate their resources and align against those targets to best achieve their objectives. Mm-hmm. The same goes for the team performance. They get paid as a team based on their performance against those targets. So if they've got a team member who is not participating in the way that they feel is the most productive,
or contributing to their income.
Yeah, then it's up to the team to kind of get together and take remedial action, whatever that may be.
Peers, not their manager, peers.
Their peers. Yeah, that's why they're a self-managed team.
It's great. You know, I just remember doing martial arts and somebody saying, take it easy, don't go so crazy, you know, and I remember Bruce Lee saying that when you train, you got to work out where you're almost passing out to get the benefit of something, and you are, you know, an exercise participant, and then I'd say to my son, run out to the field first, be the first one out there, no matter what anybody says, and I think people rise to that, but once in a while, you have somebody that, like, hey, take it easy, let's not overdo this.
Yeah, we want to put people in a position to succeed, right? Because if the team succeeds and all the teams succeed, then obviously the organization is going to succeed. So we want to give them the tools, we want to give them the processes, we want to give them all the support we possibly can. We want to provide the leadership that really facilitates their role, their work. But then again, it's up to the team to kind of decide, you know, how they're going to get there, what they need, and what's going to make them successful.
Yeah, versus somebody stepping in, they all work together. And,
right.
And they're compensated for that, which is good. You have over 40 years experience in this industry as a CEO, president of over 1,000 people. Is there something you can share with a business owner that might have 10 people, 1,000 people, you know, that you've learned over the years that have become like, this is something that I just need to share with people about leading a team?
Yeah, I actually don't think there's that much difference between the person who runs General Motors and the person who runs a 10-person organization.
Why is that?
Because at the end of the day, you've got to make money if it's a sole proprietorship for yourself, or if you're running General Motors, you've got to make money for the share owners. And what you've got to do is you have to organize your people in such a way to enable that to happen. And so you've got to be aware of the competition. You've got to be aware of the dynamics of the marketplace. You've got to be aware of the economic circumstances. You've got to be aware, if that's the kind of business you're in, of what's going on in your supply chain. The person who runs General Motors has those same challenges, maybe on a larger scale, but the person who runs a 10-person organization has the same challenges as well. And what separates the men from the boys, if you will, or the adults from the children, is the ability to actually achieve a business plan. So does your business plan make sense given all the vagaries of the marketplace? Is there enough stretch in it so that you can convince yourself you're actually growing? And in that sense, 10-person organization, General Motors,
same thing.
A lot of similarities.
How does confidence play a part in your role?
Yeah, I think that confidence speaks to decision making. Now, every day there are variables, and you've got to be able to size them up. And you'd like to have, and I actually talk about this in the book, you'd like to have an ability to have perfect information, and you'd like to have an ability to study that information for as long as you need to until you get to a comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost never happens.
Right.
So the confidence comes in with, look, we've been here before, we've seen these variables, we understand, we have to make a judgment call. And the best players in baseball hit 300. They get it right 30% of the time. In business, we like to get it right 90% of the time. But I don't know anybody who gets it right 100% of the time. You have to kind of accept that. And if there is a stumble, you have to evaluate that too and figure out a way to avoid it the next time a decision comes across the desk. So I think there is a certain amount of confidence. Confidence is, and that's really what Gutsball is all about. Right? We haven't talked about Gutsball.
We're going to talk about Gutsball.
But I guess we will.
Break. We will talk about.
But I guess we will. But that's what Gutsball is all about. It is the ability to make a decision and take action while acknowledging potential consequences but not fearing them.
You were giving a speech, and I was doing some research and watching you talk, and I love the whole thing about, you got to be nimble, you got to be quick. I was thought you were going to do a nursing rhyme,
Right.
but flexibility,
Right.
That's Gutsball. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, especially in today's environment, it's an interesting world we live in today. You're either being disrupted or you're a disruptor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're being disrupted, you can't just kind of sit there and say, this is the way we've done everything for the last 10 years and it's made us successful. We're just going to continue doing what we're doing, but we're getting disrupted. Mm-hmm. Well, we're getting disrupted means we have to create a different kind of response. And the pace of change and the marketplace demands are so substantial these days, you don't have time to really sit and contemplate. You have to create a response. Mm-hmm. And that means you have to be flexible, you have to be agile, you have to be nimble, mm-hmm. And you have to be speedy.
Like Jack.
Like Jack. But
sure.
Yeah, so in the world we live in today, you're either a disruptor or you're being disrupted, and some companies are both.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a lot of companies are at the same time. Mm-hmm. And you can't create a good response to disruption unless you're quick, unless you're flexible, and unless you're agile.
Right. What would be a strategy that companies need to employ to execute about the customer, getting close to the customer? I know you're big on that. You spend time with customers. I think
Yes,
that's
I
what
do.
Impresses, that I'm impressed with that you do that. What could you share with the audience about that?
Well, first of all, I think spending time with customers is an important thing for a guy like me to do. Mm-hmm. There's an author of spy novels, his name's John le Carré, mm-hmm. who says in one of his books, the world is a dangerous place to view from behind your desk. So you really have to get out there and talk to customers. Otherwise, the information is getting filtered to you.
Right.
And if you're called upon to make decisions about strategy with filtered information, and people, they don't do it on purpose, but they have a tendency to tell you what they think you want to hear. Mm-hmm. And my approach is always, give me the bad news first, and let's deal with that. Then we can deal with the other stuff. Mm-hmm. And I also believe in questioning success, by the way. This worked out well, why? And can we do it again? Is that replicable, or did we just get lucky that time? But in terms of...
Interesting, questioning success.
Yes.
Elaborate on it, because a lot of people question failure or make people...
Question failure, you should definitely do that. But I think you should question success as well, because if you're successful, you want to be able to repeat that. You want to make sure you didn't just get lucky just that one time.
Right.
But if you're successful, maybe you hit on something that's,
that you can do it
the beginning of a trend.
Mm-hmm.
A point of differentiation that you struck upon. I was talking to our guy who runs the Asia Pacific region for us the other day, and he said he did this transaction in a particular structure, and I said, nobody's done that before. I need you to write this up and share it with the key people in the organization so that we have a different perspective on how to win in this particular element of our marketplace.
That's a great idea.
But in terms of being close to the customer, self-managed teams are the people that interact with the customers every single day. Now, we have in our company around the world about 28,000 customers. There's no way I can know every single one of these 28,000 customers, or make a decision, good, bad, or indifferent, relative to our relationship with those customers. The people who work with those customers every single day do know them well. They know what makes them tick. They know where we're doing well for them. They know where we need to improve our approach to them. And it's really, that's why a self-managed team is so important. It's really up to them to make the decisions based on what's good for the customer.
Right.
And when I'm sitting in front of a customer, I'm the one doing all the questions.
Great.
Yeah, I want to listen more than I want to talk. Now I'll respond to questions too, of course. But yeah, I want to hear what they have to say. And again, I'd like to hear the bad news first.
Right. That builds the relationship. That gives you credibility. That makes you aware of what you're going to say next, so you present right and you're targeted. And I don't know anybody listen themselves out of a sale. So I appreciate that. When we come back, I want to get into your book. I want to talk about the strategies of your book, about getting close to the customer, about Gutsball, about your exercise program, because you must be under stress, the position you're in, anybody who's running that kind of company that size. So we're with Irv and Rothman, by the way, Irv Rothman, and we'll be right back after this.
When it comes to saving money,
What? Parents!
don't act like a baby.
Oh, it's like they're having their own little meeting. This is so humiliating.
Be the boss
I'm the boss.
What the?
Power nap. You were saying.
and make a budget.
Let's get to work.
Need a little help?
Stacy, read back the notes.
I can't read. What's it say?
Create a personalized savings plan and get other tools and tips
We can share.
You obviously didn't go to business school.
at feedthepig.org.
Welcome back. We're with Irv Rothman, President and CEO of Hewlett-Packard Enterprises Financial Services, and he's been sharing some ideas that really kind of ignite a new way to look at how you manage companies and how you manage teams, how you deal with failure and success and other things. But I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about Out-Executing the Competition, which I enjoyed this read. I read it twice. Going through it already with one of the things, Gutsball. I know we talked about that on the last show, but explain to the audience what that is, and then also explain why the proceeds of this book all go to children's literacy and what that means to you.
Yeah. Well, first on Gutsball, I'm not sure it's a word, and so I created a definition for it because it's the word I use all the time. And essentially, it's about you need to make a decision in order to make a business move forward. You need to use your best judgment combined with as much data as you can gather, but you're never going to have perfect data. You're never going to have enough time. And at the end of the day, you have to make a judgment call. You want to be careful about playing let's bet the company, but most of the decisions you make, the sun is still going to come up the next morning if you don't get it quite right. And usually, even if you don't get it quite right, you have an opportunity to kind of remedy the situation a little bit. That's essentially what Gutsball is all about. And it's about exercising initiative on behalf of the customer and about making decisions on behalf of the customer, acknowledging potential consequences but not fearing them.
Not fearing them. And I think about advice I got years ago about when you make a decision, you could do all your homework, get mentors, wise advisors before you act, before you try something new. And at the end result is really to think about your gut. What's your gut feeling? What is it like sometimes your gut can outsmart everything to say, hey, no, there's something.
I think we've all got experiences, both professional and life experiences, that kind of guide our thinking and our decision making. And as I said, I don't know anybody who gets it right 100% of the time, which means that we must live in a world where even if you make a mistake, there's a way to either fix it or at least mitigate the outcome.
But I like
somewhat.
what you're doing. I like that idea because it's your true nature. You're trying to find out what is your best operation. How do you work best? Sometimes when you don't think and you operate on all the experiences you have and you take action based upon being in that moment, that's where you get your best results.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important concept for your people as well, because we're a fairly sizable organization. We operate around the globe. It's impossible for me to make every decision.
Right.
And I don't even want to. So our people make most of the decisions every single day with respect to the particular customer relationships that they're responsible for. I want them to make those decisions, and if they don't quite get it right, let's deal with it.
Right.
Let's deal with it. There's no one decision. We have, close to 1,600 people in the organization, if you include all the functional disciplines that support us and sales and everything else. There's not one decision anybody can make that can bring the company to its knees. So we have a decision, doesn't go quite right, let's deal with it and let's figure out how to not make that same mistake a second time. But that doesn't mean we have to bring the hammer down on the person who made that decision.
I like what you said in your speech about that, about letting people feel comfortable that they can try something if it's in the best interest of that customer, whatever it is, and if it goes wrong, what to learn from that.
Right.
There's a lot of history of where you grew up and your father and everything, but before that, tell us about why all the proceeds go to, where they go.
So, I decided to write this book. It's essentially a book on leadership. That's because the world didn't have enough books on leadership.
Right.
Right. So the world did have enough books on leadership, but I thought that, over a 40-some-odd year career, there was a lot of learnings that could be imparted to other people who are at various stages in their career or in life. I always like to write, and I'm a voracious reader myself.
Leaders are readers.
So I decided to write the book, and then I said, well, there are going to be royalties if anybody buys it, and people fortunately did. The royalties from the book not going to make a difference in my lifestyle. Maybe I can do some good with them. So I sort of aligned myself with this Children's Literacy Foundation. It's called Room to Read. It emphasizes children in disadvantaged countries, and especially gender equality in education. The more people are educated, the better citizens of the world they're going to be someday, and this book gave me an opportunity to make a really very small contribution to that, but I'm pleased that we were able to make some contribution.
Yep, that's a good thing. I mean, I could tell you just sometimes it was difficult in school for me early, but when I became passionate about it through one teacher, and reading just changed your life, changes everything.
Yeah.
We could talk about, in your sales background and Wall Street and all that, but I want to ask you a question. Your father, I guess he was a smoker and everything, and tell me what is your change since that, the passing of your father? I know that was a big event for you.
Well, it was a long time ago, and the people didn't live a healthy lifestyle in those days the way they do today, because people are much better informed, much more well informed about the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. But I had one small child at the time he died, and another one on the way, and I said, wow, I don't really want to be following that path. I want to figure out a way to do things differently and live to see my children grow up, and now I have grandchildren, which I'm very happy about, and I'm watching them grow up as well. So it's been very rewarding, and the pathway to that, I think, is a healthy lifestyle. Watch what you eat, exercise regularly, don't gain weight, don't smoke. A glass of wine once in a while is okay, but you can't overdo it.
Right.
So my view is everything in moderation is all right, as long as things are kind of within a healthy lifestyle envelope.
Right. Consistency is a lot about what you say in your book and everything. And what's your definition of success today? It's been a while since I've seen you, and things change, and I know you want to, leave things so when you go, things are a foundation. I'm talking when you leave the company,
Which isn't happening anytime soon.
Right. And I could tell you a story about how, the mind works when you're engaged, and how much longer you live when you're involved in thinking and other, but not that there's anything wrong with it.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm in the last job I'm going to have in terms of a for-profit major corporation. And so what's very important for me now, and what I will consider to be a successful end to my career whenever that should happen, is that the company is positioned for long-term sustainable success, and that the people in the organization have had an opportunity to grow professionally and have an enriched life personally. Because they're both connected.
Yes.
If your personal life is good and your professional life is good, you're a happier person, you're providing for your family,
And you're better
they're
at
happier
work.
people. It's a good way to it's a good way to be. My job right now, and I feel a great responsibility to everybody that works for us every single day I come to work, is to make sure that happens. And so that means keeping your eyes and ears open so you've got the right strategy. It means developing the talent within the organization so you're making sure you've got the right people to do what we need to do. And especially in our business, which is the financial services business, you know, we don't manufacture anything, we don't ship anything. You know, our business is all about the people that execute, hence the title of the book.
Right.
And if we execute better than the other guy, we're going to win in the marketplace, and we'll get the professional side of life squared away. And if we're successful as a business, the personal side of life will come along with that as well.
Right. Great advice. You know, there's a lot of young people starting jobs today, and you know, my kids are working. Some are working, and some are not yet, but they still have internships, and so I'd like to give to a younger generation for just a 1 minute over. I know that's not enough time, but you know, it's a half-hour show. But 1 minute on here are some key things, 2 or 3 things that when you start a job, these are the things that you want to do.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's very important when you start a job to work for somebody that you can learn something from. A really good mentor, a really good reporting relationship is one where the individual takes on the role of a coach. You know, they're going to hold you accountable for your performance objectives. That's all fine. And it's good to understand that you are accountable, because a lot of young people go through school and, you know, they got to get good grades and they've got to be good people. But it's another thing when you're accountable in a corporation and everything you do contributes to shareowner value. It's a much broader kind of accountability. So learning that accountability is important, but working for somebody who can teach you how to stand up to that accountability and what are the right ways to do things is very, very important. So that's one thing. What I always told my kids, and they're all in the workforce now, is never say no. Very important. No matter how difficult the challenge, never say no. Always say, well, I'm not sure if I understand exactly how to get this done, but I will figure it out and I will get this done and I will learn from it. And then the other thing, I guess, is in this day and age, it's very, very difficult to be committed to a career path. You know, well, if I do this, I'll get promoted to this and I'll get promoted to that and I'll move on to the next level and so on and so forth. That's good, but statistically, people don't stay at companies long enough to actually go there. So I think the most important thing is to establish your track record, your record of achievement, so that when circumstances change and opportunities arise, you're in a position to take advantage of them, because you're probably not going to stay at that company for life.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great. Learn from somebody you work with, take on challenges you can grow from, and
be
I
open.
Really appreciate you coming on. Irv.
Yeah, it was great to see you again.
Likewise.
Thanks.
This is Mind Your Business. See you next time. Mind Your Business is brought to you by Today's Business, making business social.